Well, behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock we are forcing behaviors. Well, behaviors are going to have to change, and this is one thing we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors, and at BlackRock we are forcing behaviors.
This is the United Uprising channel. Welcome to today's show. I want to thank a subscriber over on the website Studio 215 for keeping me posted on this, making me aware. I covered this potential thing a few years ago in regards to what they were calling congestive pricing, which had to do, of course, with the carbon footprint. And now it is actually being rolled out, like I've talked about, in liberal New York City, because the liberal states are going to be ones that start rolling this out first. Now, obviously, the initial response to this is pushback from people, but they don't realize that this is going to be the new normal. And the more they beat it into your head, the more exhausted you get and you eventually accept it, which is why people need to push back now however they can, by any means necessary, because enough is enough in accepting this nonsense. And if we accept this, then eventually we will accept even more restrictions. This is the carbon footprint in a nutshell. People in New York City are going to be priced out of driving and traveling. Okay, they use things like, it's creating traffic jams. I'm going to show you the video clips. You could see the Orwellian cameras all over the place that'll be reading tags on your cars of where you're going. So in other words, I'm going to show you the clip, but each vehicle that goes into Manhattan and certain districts in New York City are going to be priced and charged every time they enter the region. Okay, so just say hypothetically you wanted to go to Times Square. Say your work was in Times Square. Well, every single day or every single time you go into Times Square, depending on the vehicle you drive, you're going to be charged. Small trucks, $25. Large trucks, $36. Motorcycles, $7.50. Passenger vehicles, $15, depending on the size of it. Now, they say that this is to prevent congestion. This is causing a strain on businesses in New York. Since when? This is normalizing the carbon footprint. That's what this is. This is them saying you have to limit your travel. You have to limit the type of vehicle you're using and, comply with what we tell you. And you'll get exemptions and credits, maybe a little bit here and there based on your income, et cetera, et cetera. This entire thing is an enslavement system. That's what it is. And it pretty much gives people, it'll make people, they'll look at this and they'll say, I can't even afford to go to New York. So what will they do? They'll stay home in their prison cell. This is enslavement. That's what it is. With a little fancy ribbon on it telling you that, well, you're doing good things to benefit the climate. Well, you're doing good things. You're keeping congestion low in New York to help out small businesses. Meanwhile, they're running all the businesses out of the cities because they're destroying the infrastructure to bring in smart technology in all these cities and smart buildings. This is all part of a plan of design, right? It's very easy to see that they're sabotaging. How anyone out there thinks that these snooty, silver spoon up their rectum Democrats in power who, drive around in their fancy cars, etc., want crime to run amok. The reason they want it to run amok is to destroy the infrastructure. That's it. It's not because they're people out there are passive about it. They're letting it run amok because they're letting black people or people of certain skin color run amok. They're doing it to destroy the cities. The cities are going to be just like what I'm about to show you in New York. Look at this nightmare, the New York City congestion pricing plan, which has been approved, ladies and gentlemen. I covered this when it was being thrown around as an idea, and I had said that 2030 this will be implemented. Well, guess what? It's 2023, and it's just been implemented.
The controversial congestion pricing plan. We've been covering this for a while now. The MTA board approved it earlier today.
Yeah, that tolling plan affects drivers who enter Manhattan at or below 60th Street, and prices are going to range from $15 all the way up to $36 for drivers. News 4's Andrew Siff live in Lower Manhattan with what happens next in the process. Andrew.
Right. What happens next is the public's going to get a chance to sound off. There'll be 60 days of public comment, then 4 public hearings in late February and early March, and then this tolling is set to begin in late spring. The MTA acknowledged today a new challenge, making sure drivers pay that toll.
Those voting yes, keep your hands up.
It passed by a 9-to-1 margin. Those in favor acknowledging
someone has to pay, and you've thought a way to make that a fair burden across a group. It is fairly shared.
Who will be sharing the cost of the nation's first congestion toll? Just about everyone next spring. Cars will pay $15 once per day to enter Manhattan south of 60th Street. Trucks will pay $24 or $36 depending on their size. Business leaders made the case gridlock was even more expensive.
Excess traffic congestion is costing the New York City region over $20 billion a year.
The money predicted to pour in from congestion pricing, $15 billion to modernize subways and buses. As for exemptions, New Jersey drivers who use the Lincoln and Holland tunnels get a $5 credit. Some think that's unbalanced.
I reject that. I don't think anybody from Jersey should get a credit. And people from the outer boroughs, the blue-collar people in New York, the working people that make the city go, should not get credits.
Other concerns, enforcement. The MTA has already struggled to collect at cashless toll plazas, with up to 5% failing to pay. Here's what the MTA chairman had to say about those who try to get out of the congestion toll.
We're going to go after it hard and make sure that people are not getting away with that, because the credibility of the whole effort is at stake.
As for the people who will be paying the toll, like heating repairman Servando Velasquez,
they send me all the way uptown, so what am I going to do? They're going to have to eat that cost. I mean, and who's going to pay for it? The customers.
The MTA is reserving the right to raise that congestion toll by another 25% on so-called gridlock alert days. Once again, they're expecting this toll to begin sometime in the late spring. We're live in Lower Manhattan. Andrew Siff, News 4 New York.
Look at these people. These people were supposed elected officials. We know that they're not. We know that they're Freemasons, they're Eastern Star, they're members of secret societies put on these boards to approve the globalist goals and agendas, period. Nobody would agree with this, and no civilian should agree with this. The problem that the civilians are having is they're too divided over skin color, over political affiliation. We should have no affiliation to a political party. That's the problem. We should have an affiliation, and we should have a bond as civilians against a corrupt government. And we should tell them to get out. We shouldn't even give them get them out. Okay, this is going to lead to way, way, way worse things. As horrible as it sounds, guess what? These people are going to accept it. And this is what's going to happen in these Dem cities. These Dem cities are then going to flaunt themselves as being very friendly to the environment, wonderful people. Oh, we're doing great things in these cities. Other people can't deal with it. They can't make a little quote unquote sacrifice. They're enslaving you. There is nothing going on with the climate. All of a sudden, this congestion stuff, this is normalizing what the enslavement carbon footprint will look like, and then using things to subliminally convince you that it's needed, right? So people see this stuff about congested pricing, and they're like, oh boy, but what is the purpose of it? Well, they tell you that the purpose of it is, businesses are really hurting. Oh, are they? Everybody's hurting. And is everybody sick of it yet? Everybody's hurting because they're making everybody broke. This is the globalist design. But everybody's on board because they're saying, oh, but they love and accept you if you have blue hair and you act like a freak and you're unhinged 24/7. As long as you're taking pictures of yourself around the clock. Don't be distracted with real, actual issues like this that we're allowing them to put in, right? The technology is the issue. It's like once this stuff is implemented, this technology is implemented, you can't hide from it, right? Because these people are going to be hiding from you, but the technology is going to be in place. And if you try to shoot the technology, you're going to jail for 50 years. Now, I showed you the clips of what this is. I want to play for you another clip now. Listen to these psychopaths talk about the consequences of trying to evade this, okay? Because they're already saying, well, people are going to evade this. They're going to switch out their license plate tags. They're going to cover them up so they don't have to pay fees. And, well, our government is so focused on really important issues, right? Criminals are running amok. You have just the amount of disgusting acts that we hear of people who get out of prison after committing this certain disgusting offenses once are allowed back on the streets and they continue to commit it, right? All of this stuff. This is what they're cracking down on. If you try to evade this ridiculous system, they're going to come after you, and they're hell-bent on making sure that you oblige, right? This is about behavioral control.
The controversial congestion pricing plan took a big step forward today. The MTA board voting to approve charging drivers to enter Manhattan below 60th Street. It'll be $15 for most cars. Truckers will pay even more. And as CBS 2's Naveen Dhaliwal reports, people are already worried about what it means for parking.
As congestion pricing becomes closer to a reality.
The mad scramble trying to find street parking, and I think it's already kind of a pretty stressful experience here locally here in the Upper West Side.
Those living on the Upper West Side concerned about traffic and lack of parking on their streets.
There's certainly a risk that it becomes more congested, as people parking so they don't have to then take their vehicle over the threshold.
Just don't see the reasoning behind it. Everything already is super high right now with inflation.
Officials say companies are supporting congestion pricing because of the high cost of congested roads to their bottom line.
Excess traffic congestion is costing the New York City region over $20 billion a year.
There are concerns commuters will try to get creative to find ways to dodge the tolls, including altering or hiding their license plates. MTA head Janno Lieber says they're ready to deal with toll evaders.
We're going to go after it hard and make sure that people are not getting away with that, because the credibility of the whole effort is at stake.
Despite the vote, some MTA board members asked for exemptions for people going to medical appointments, school buses, and to help the yellow cab industry.
I know there's been a lot of discussion about exemptions, and I think those should be extremely limited because the rest of us just end up having to pay for it.
Public hearings are expected to take place at the end of February and early March, and officials are hoping to start the program by the spring, but it's being held up by 2 lawsuits filed by officials in New Jersey. On the Upper West Side, Naveen Dhaliwal, CBS 2 News.
So they'll come after you. And this is what your government's focused on. Do you see in the pattern here? They're focused like a prison guard. That's what it's like, right? Like a prison guard. Because you might say, well, what if somebody can't afford to go to New York and their mother is there and they're saying, well, tough, right? Oh, we'll make some exemptions. No, they won't. They will not make any exceptions, just like the magic potion. Everybody was like, oh, they're going to make exemptions for the magic potion because of your religious beliefs. You're protected by your religious beliefs, so you don't have to do it. Oh, yeah, how did that work out? They held the middle finger up and said, F your religious beliefs. We don't care about your religious beliefs. We don't care about anything that you might think or say. You're going to take it or you're going to lose your job and lose your income. Same here. There will be no exemptions. They tell you that there's exemptions. They will not approve any exemptions. So if you don't have enough money, you won't be able to go into the city. And of course, this will just end up beating you down, to the point where you won't want to leave your home. And you'll say, you know what, Mom, we're going to have to Zoom because I can't afford $30. This isn't 3 cents, which is already, that would be ridiculous enough. Just the fact that we're letting them tax us, which is part of the carbon footprint on these types of things, right? So you might say, oh, well, I'm going to go see my mom anyway. I'll try to do this and do that. Well, they won't let you get around it, so you can check that off the list. You're going to try to find workarounds. They've already thought of every single one you could possibly do. What are you going to carpool? Well, that works to their advantage, right? Then what? Oh, you switch to an electric vehicle. Will that help even more? I mean, what things will help? Oh, none will, until you pretty much say, I'm not going into the city anymore. And they go, good. That's exactly the whole point of this, is that you stay home. And don't worry, we'll deliver your package with Amazon delivery and this or that. Go on Uber Eats. They talk about Uber and how it's going to affect them. They even have somewhat of a discount plan. I mean, they're still getting taxed, but they'll have a discount plan. So that'll be included in your payments when you order Uber Eats, which is obviously why they promoted all this stuff with DoorDash and Uber Eats and gotten everybody comfortable staying home and not even being able to drive to their local fast food place anymore. It used to be like, oh, delivery. Does the pizza place deliver? Now it's like, oh, you can get McDonald's delivered. It was never an option for the teens out there. It was never an option. You couldn't get delivery from Dunkin' Donuts. This is also you stay home and you don't leave, because your home is your prison. They're spying and listening to you at your home. If you start questioning this stuff in the future in your home and you start getting wise to what's going on, they're going to come to your home. They're going to shut your power off, etc. Well, because we're giving them all of these rights. We're allowing them to do this stuff via technology, via just things like this and saying, oh, okay, I guess this is for the benefit, right? So like I was saying, somebody wants to go see their sick mother in New York City. Guess what? You're not going to see her. Because eventually you're not going to have any money. And then you're going to just go, all right, well, I guess I could Zoom call her, right? Everybody's been conditioned into doing these calls over their tech. What do you think that was about? getting everybody prepared. You're seeing people in your own life now who are like, well, we don't have to see you for the holiday or whatever you might say. I don't have to see you this summer. I'm not going to see, we could just do it on the phone because everybody's been conditioned into that. 5 years ago, people would be like, what? I'm not doing that. Even old people now, oh yeah, I know how to use the phone, so we could just do everything over the phone. That's what they want. They're just saying, look, we'll give you a little caveat. You could see each other over the phone, but don't leave your home. Don't you dare step out that door. Your carbon footprint. Oh, well, we'll tax you until you can't afford to leave your home anymore. That's the point. That's what this is. That's what I've been yelling about for years. And people are like, that's a crazy conspiracy theory because of the way that they twist it. It's almost like people expect them to come out and say, hey, we're implementing a carbon footprint. You're a slave now, for them to actually wake up. What do you think this is? Huh? What do you expect them, like I say about martial law and all these other things, people expect them to come down the road with a tank. Is that what it's going to take to wake you up? Because that's not what they're going to do. They subliminally do this stuff and then lie to you and tell you why they're doing it. And then you just believe their lies. You're like, that's not what that crazy conspiracy theorist says. This is for local businesses. And they care so much about local businesses. That's why they're running everybody out. They're allowing crime to run amok because they're trying to put all the businesses out of business in New York, in all of the liberal cities where they bring in the smart cities, because there's going to be no, small business owners. There's not going to be any of that. This is a corporation. That's what communism is. It's going to be a corporation, state-run corporation. Okay? And Bezos will probably be at the head of it because Amazon, like I've covered in a video recently, if you didn't see it on a different channel, I can't say it because that one's under penalty at the moment, but I covered how Amazon is tied into every single one of these enslavement agendas, from Amazon Medical, right? Sending you your prescriptions, to Amazon One Payment, right? To all the devices in your home through Amazon, which are listening to you, which could lock your devices up, lock your home up, etc. I mean, it's very clear what's happening. People don't want to believe it. I'm not yelling this stuff so that one day someone could pat me on the back and say, you were right about that. I'm trying to warn everybody. For anyone out there that listens is like, I'd love this guy to go away. I'll go away when this goes away. If we could stop this from happening, your dream will come true. Your wish will come true. I will retire if we could stop this from happening. I'm trying to warn people. You're giving your rights up to these scumbags who are enslaving us. This whole system is an enslavement system. You will be a slave. All the images you've seen of what slavery is, there's a reason they put that there. They want you to envision slavery as what you see in some of these movies, Roots, etc. Okay? This is going to be a totally different type of one, and you're going to be enslaved in your mind. It's going to be worse than anything you've ever seen in a movie depicted of slavery. And you might say, that's not fair to say. It will be, because they're going to control your thoughts. Right? People are like, what does that mean? They're going to be, well, yeah, they're going to have technology inside your body, etc. Where if you think of a certain thought, the thought police will show up. All of this stuff, they're going to control your behavior. That's what this is. This will affect people's behavior, right? How many times have I showed the video clips of Larry Fink? It's about controlling behavior. Larry Fink owns every single corporation there is. Larry Fink owns it all. All of them do. Well, I shouldn't say all of them do. When I say all of them, I'm referring to a certain people over in the land of that love bagels. And I'll cover that in a separate video again. But understand this, it's about controlling your behavior, right? I've been saying that. So what is this that we're seeing? This is controlling your behavior. You're going to decide when you go out, when you don't go out, et cetera, and you're going to be charged and taxed on every movement you make. That's what we're allowing you to do. And then they'll tie in the climate stuff so that people can feel like they're doing a good thing, and they go, you have to make sacrifices. They'll show Taylor Swift. Like, Taylor Swift's making sacrifices. She's no longer flying private. Oh, Taylor Swift, you're so great. Well, if Taylor Swift could do that, then I guess I don't have to go visit my dying mom at the hospital because of my carbon footprint. If Taylor Swift's not going to travel, then I won't, right? And they'll be influenced like the zombies are. So let me just explain real quick, even though you saw the video clips, how it works. Congestion pricing would impact any driver entering what is being called the Central Business District, which stretches from 60th Street in Manhattan and below all the way down to the southern tip of the financial district. In other words, most drivers entering Midtown Manhattan or below will have to pay a toll. Okay, and people are like, well, we already paid tolls. No, this isn't the same. All drivers of trucks, cars, motorcycles, and other vehicles would be charged the toll. Different vehicles would be charged different amounts. Here's a breakdown of the prices. Passengers, 15, small trucks, 24, large trucks, 36, motorcycles, 750, right? So this will affect the way you drive and where you drive. The $15 toll, and it'll make you broke. The $15 toll is about a midway point between previously reported possibilities, which have ranged from $9 to $23. The full daytime rates would be in effect from 5 a.m. until 9 p.m. So you have a curfew. Sound like prison? Curfew's in effect each weekday at 9 a.m. until 9 p.m. on weekends. The board called for toll rates in the off hours of 9 to 5 on weekdays. weekdays and 9 p.m. until 9 a.m. on weekends to be about 75% less. So you'll still be taxed about $3.50 instead of $15, right? Yeah, and then, oh, by the way, so these idiots who try to justify this, right? Oh, but that won't cause massive congestion. So people will be like, well, I can go out, I can afford to go see my mom on this day during this hours because it won't be $15, it'll be $3.50. Oh, well, what about the congestion then? Because everybody will be trying to get into the city at that point to avoid paying 4 times the price to enter a city, which you should freely be allowed to go in and out of, right? So eventually, what will this do? This will eliminate people using cars. And then when they have a smart city set up, you could travel for free. But you'll still be taxed. You'll still have to watch how often you go out because of the climate and et cetera, how often you breathe. But, we won't have to worry about that anymore. That's the solution that'll come in because, of course, they expect people to not like this and accept this. And it's going to go from New York to Chicago to Los Angeles to San Francisco, probably San Francisco next, even though there's not much congestion there. But, they'll run, and at the same time, they'll run people out of these cities even more than they just did with the outbreak, which is also done by design, right? So drivers would be charged to enter the zone, not to leave it or stay in it. So once you enter this zone, you'll be charged. That means, and this is how it's going to be with the carbon footprint as far as you breathing. If you go to certain places, you're going to be taxed more money. Okay, and we're all going to have this credit system because they're going to destroy the dollar anyway, right? So when we're all on an even playing field, everyone's out there is like, that's great. People out there who have money because their skin color, this or that. They get sucked into all this stuff thinking that equality has to do with, because you lay around smoking weed all day on your sofa, you think you should have more money than somebody else who works hard. I mean, it's ridiculous, but that's the mindset they've convinced people. Well, it's because of their skin color, it's because of their gender, it's because, they were wronged and they're a victim, right? And they buy into all this stuff, so they keep hearing the word equality. And they think it has to do with them being equality. To them, what this means, and their equity and equality, is that we all have an allowance. We all get 50 credits, whatever it is, tokens, I believe it'll be. I think they've been conditioning us with the Bitcoin tokens and all that kind of crap. You have tokens, and everybody will be able to spend their tokens, quote unquote, however they want, right? And things that you used to just do normally, like go see somebody, you'll be charged for. And you'll just start accepting it as normal, like it's a video game. See how this conditioning is work? And you'll say, well, I got 10 tokens today. I could go to the grocery store. That's 2. I can go see my mom. That's 5. Then I'll have 3 left. And I'll have 5 minutes to go walk in the park. And then the rest of the day, 22 hours of the day, I will be in my home. Oh, and it sounds just like a prison where they get to go outside for an hour every day for recess, and they get to have lunch and dinner and breakfast for 30 minutes, and then they have a 15-minute library time. Sounds very much like that because that's what it is. If they could put us all in prison cells, they would. But they can't put billions of people in cells because there's not enough cells. So your home is now your cell. That's what it is. Okay, and they're causing chaos around us at the same time so that none of us will, want to leave your home, and they'll make it more and more difficult and won't have any reason for you to leave your home because you can get everything in your home. And people will just not even realize what's happening because they're too distracted. It's absolutely insane. So the reasoning they use is that excess traffic is costing the New York City region $20 billion a year. What? Excess? Oh, okay. So, but Uber, Lyft, and other ride shares get exemptions, right? What about taxis? Well, there'll be exemptions in place for ride shares and tax. Because why do you think Uber and Lyft would get one? Oh, because they're providing a service? What about a truck that's driving through with a delivery of food? Oh, don't worry about them. See, Uber and them will get an exemption because if they're going to deliver you food to your home, well, that's part of how the system works. They don't want you leaving your cell. So they're pretty much working for the government in a sense, even though none of them have a clue what's going on. Right? And people are paying ridiculous amounts of money to have Uber Eats and DoorDash and all this other crap. They get an exemption because they keep you enslaved in your home. So that fits into what they want to do. That's why they get an exemption, okay? So the toll will not be in effect for taxis, but drivers will be charged $1.25. New York Taxi Workers Alliance said in a statement the plan is a reckless proposal that will devastate an entire world. Of course it will. They're trying to destroy the infrastructure, not save it. Their taxis will be gone. All this stuff will be gone. Uber Eats will be gone, but in a sense it won't be because it'll just be renamed something else, like the OSS became the CIA. Let's call it something else, and they'll have, it'll be free in a sense. Maybe you pay one of your credits. I mean, the whole system is psychotic and satanic, and it is not progression. We're regressing to a point of literal human enslavement. but not like, small mass global enslavement. So the toll will go in effect in spring of 2024, and I'll continue to cover it here. I'll continue to let you be aware of it. But people out there just don't realize that, they're yelling now. This is how it works every time with them. This is because this is psychological. You have to understand how the brain works. You need to step back, get away from your technology, and start thinking about the brain. Their obsession is controlling your thoughts, your mind. People just take their brain for granted. And I use the zoo as the example, right? We will go to the zoo and we watch the animals and we see when a guy comes out and they feed the animal and how they can control the animal, because you say, why isn't the animal mauling this guy? Well, they figured out how to control it, right? Well, they do the same thing with us. They look at us as animals, right? So they got you pulled this way, pulled that way. Your emotions go this way. The emotions you would use against them, you take it out on your favorite sports game. All these things they do to keep you herded, okay? And then they do things like this, and they know if they just do it over and over and over in small ways, even though this is pretty serious, but doing it like this, that you'll just start accepting it and accepting it and accepting it with no pushback other than complaining. Because when you complain, it doesn't mean anything. They want you to go protest with a picket sign. How about throwing them out and arresting them, using what the Constitution was set up to do, which was to prevent this type of government overreach. It's not even government overreach anymore. It's government smothering is what we're dealing with. They're literally laying on top of you while you're sleeping, putting their rear end in your face, okay, passing gas while you're trying to sleep. That's what they're doing. They're not trying to get in your home, right? Government overreach would be them knocking at your front door. You're like, get away, leave me. No, they're in your home. They're just literally sitting on your face, farting on you. That's what they're doing at this point. That's how much overreach there is. It's government torment. And it needs to be stopped, no matter what your affiliation is politically, no matter what your preference is in a bedroom. We continue to give up our rights like this, we will continue to be enslaved. I'll cover it more in the future. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. It's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And nobody will get it. I've been yelling about the carbon footprint. People are like, okay. Because they still buy into the climate stuff. They don't know about geoengineering. They don't want to believe it because they don't look up and see the trails. They don't understand that they're doing stuff to the environment on purpose. They're cutting off food supply on purpose. They're cutting off fertilizer on purpose. They're poisoning water supply on purpose with all these chemical bombs going off on trains. Nobody's paying attention. What are they paying attention to? If men can have babies, right? They're gaslighting people with the most insane crap that shouldn't even be discussed. Which is what like I talk about the Daily Wire. What they're doing is they're gaslighting. They're getting people all angry about this stuff where we shouldn't even be angry about it because we shouldn't be discussing it. We should be taking matters in our own hands. Our leaders are not. Okay, obviously the police force, the Freemasonic police. Nope, none of them are. They're allowing chaos to run amok. And the civilians are the ones who need to band together and rise up against it because everything comes down to numbers. And we have way more numbers than they have. But it's going to be too late. And they know by doing this stuff, they watch how people respond and they go, let them complain. They'll complain. Nothing will be done and we'll continue forward. So that's what they do. They just let you complain and then eventually they know to wear you down. Like we saw in France with all the stuff that was going on over there, their uprising, et cetera, no pun intended. And, eventually they just wear out. How many days in a row could you protest and do these things? They just hide underground until you get tired and then you accept it and then we move forward with more restrictions and more government overreach. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I thank you for being here. Hope you're all well. God bless you as always and your families.